squad members, I can't act cool.
Hey, young, this your beat?
Nothing lasts forever, I don't got tattoos. I lost squad members, I can't act cool. I like my bitches short and thick and they ain't gotta act rude. She won't treat me like I'm the rest, cause I ain't that dude. I see something as a child, I change my thoughts forever. Try to do right, I'm on the ass and I won't fucking let up. Hit from the side, bitch, don't be lazy, lift your fucking leg up. To all my niggas going through a struggle, keep your fucking head up. Anything you going through, I'm a witness, it won't last forever. Just stay down and hold your side, don't change up like the weather. If he around me, then he got a ruler, but he ain't trying to measure. I got it in here, me some weed to get my thoughts together. Hard in the summer, but my heart cold, so I got a rock sweater. We came in this roll alone, so we ain't gon' leave out together. I know I'm blessed, I know my worth, so I can never settle. You can't show yourself before you only time can tell. Fuck here, get one time to fuck up, and you can't go here. Whoa dear, I got too many steps to bring a pole here. No deal, I won't set my soul ain't high and go here. I won't school and stay loyal to my niggas and my face stick to the cold here. It's a new 40 on my hood, the bitch a blow here. It's a different dope inside the blunt, we getting lows in. Smoking on some dope from across the country, got a choke in. Keep the bitch go receiver, put the bitch emotion. I'm drinking on some shit that change a mood, we call it potion. Can't even hide the 30 in the clip, it be poking. And up all them beans, we got some smoke, they get it going. White girl playing with her, no Lindsay Lohan. My little cousin slipped up and lost a baby, she was 16. Ain't doing shit for free, I want 200 for a 16. Glock with a dick and 30 clip with a red beam. She make it hard for me, cause all that nigga sold a big dream. Don't lose on thug behind no shit you saying that you ain't me. All my niggas slide, you know what's up, bitch, you can't play me. I see the picture clear, my life a movie like it's HD. I'm a 50K screens and I ain't got no post on say cheese. Light a little whipping when I up it, better say cheese. This life taught me some lessons, fuck the school, I want no degree. I'm just trying to take care of my people, how you hate me. When I got caught with that elite, the shit was crazy. Bitch, the trap baby shit don't do that.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? I want to thank everybody for joining us for episode number 40 of the Get Hook podcast. As always, this is your boy Hook.
And his favorite girl, Crystal.
All right, so today's topic, right? I wanna lie and say that it's not inspired by Derek Jackson, but I can't say that because obviously this nigga was definitely the inspiration for today's topic because he's been taking L's for like the past week and a half, and I for one am very happy. I am so overjoyed that he's finally been found out, right? All right, so today our topic of discussion is going to be relationship advice. Who should we seek it from? Or should we even seek it at all? So, Chris, what do you got to say about the topic, man?
It's a good one to know. I think that we don't know who to seek relationship advice from. And Derek Jackson raised a valuable question. He made us really think that what are the lives that the people you get your advice from living? Many of us will follow advice from a relationship from a person who is not successful in relationships. Not saying you can't get wisdom from anywhere, but if you've never been where I'm going, or you've never been through what I've been through, how can you fully give me a different thing? Or if you're a person that loves fathers and I'm getting abused, but you're telling me to stay because a person's a great father, then should you be where I'm getting it from? So learning where to get your advice from so you get sound advice is huge. So it's a good conversation because Derek had a lot of followers.
Absolutely. We tried to tell y'all that nigga tweet shit.
Here you go again.
Y'all don't want to listen.
So we got introductions. They want to know who on the thing. I don't want to hear about Derek and
Bonnie. And we have we've got a bit of a mixed panel. So we have some people who participated in the podcast before, and we have some people who are first timers. So if you guys go ahead and tell the listeners and the viewers who you are, and go ahead and take us away.
Hey, I'm Kevin. I am the original Derek Jackson here since 2014. Probably before that, I'm a father of 4. I work hard. I'm trying to get married to my wonderful fiance, who I've been with for almost 5 years. And I'm just here to contribute because I've been to relationship therapy a couple of times. So I know who to get advice from, and not for people who are on YouTube with no credentials.
There you go.
I'll jump in there. So I'm Troy Spry, certified life and relationship coach. I'm a speaker and author of the book. I always show the book, Teach Me How to Love, While What You Don't Know Will Hurt You. And I always tell people, man, my goal is this: better people, better mates, better relationships, and better communities. Because I think they all are one and the same. And what I do is I help people get out of their own way in life and in love. So that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I love doing. And I appreciate the conversation. So thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Hey guys.
Thank you.
I am Bonita Bolton. I am a newlywed. I've been married for about 60 days now, so I think I'm a pro. I thank you. I inherited the most beautiful 6-year-old daughter, and I am also a certified life coach. My specialty or my passion is helping women turn their pains into purpose. I am also an author. Troy got me looking real unprepared because I don't have my book to show. But
I'll share it. Don't worry, we'll share it.
But I wrote a book entitled "She Is Unbroken," a memoir of a formerly brokenhearted girl, kind of detailing how I moved from heartbreak to wholeness. And I also have a children's book, Do You Know Who God Is? So I'm thankful y'all have me on tonight, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shamika Hatcher. I am also known as the Ugly Consultant. I am a best-selling Amazon author. I am also a motivational speaker. I speak on a multitude of things. Mostly I do women's ministry, things that help people spiritually become help people break through, basically, spiritually. I have been married. I am divorced now. I have 2 children. And I'm just here to add to the commentary.
What's up, y'all? Alvin Staley. Happily married. Been married for 8 years, 2 kids. I'm your resident guy who just lost all his hair because his hairline was ridiculously receding. So I'm just here to add on to the conversation. And like Martin said, I'm in love, buddy. Get on out of here. Let's get it going.
And again, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining. For the viewers and listeners, make sure you guys react, share, comment, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as the podcast platform. But again, I appreciate you guys for joining. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing cracking, man. All right, so y'all hear that?
No, I got my volume all the way
down. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing cracking, man. So the first question that I have for you guys, and feel free to jump in as you see fit, but should people seek relationship advice at all?
Yes. Absolutely.
I'll go with yes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You don't know it all. You have to get advice from some. I mean, you got to talk to someone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, to be good at anything, you have to seek, new knowledge, right? And to seek new knowledge, you have to usually get that from people and from individuals. And so I think the good thing about seeking, healthy relationship advice is that people aren't they can have an objective look at it, right? So the people that are heavily emotionally vested in it, they can't look at it from the same perspective as someone who might just be looking at the facts, right? And how it's kind of just positioning itself. So I think absolutely. I mean, anybody who wants to be great at something, they seek new knowledge about it, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say something very similar. In everything that we do, we get training, and we expect to be trained so that we can get better, except for in relationships. And I think that that's something that we need to change our perspective on, because how do you get better at something if you continue to utilize tools that aren't working and that are broken? And you've got to be able to reach out to trusted, valuable resources that can help redirect the way you're thinking about things and the way that you're looking at things. A lot of us respond to certain things in relationships out of trauma. And if you don't know that, if you don't know those triggers, then you're always going to be in a cycle of toxicity, right? And I think we absolutely need to seek wise counsel when it comes to being in relationships.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was gonna say yes. Wise counsel is extremely important. We just have to be mindful of the source. You always want people around you that can hold you accountable, whether that's a counselor, a pastor, a close friend, a family member. You need someone who's willing to be honest and check you and not just go along with everything that you want to do. And so if you don't have accountability partners, then you're pretty much running blind.
Absolutely. I watched one of y'all shows too one time when y'all were talking about the money, and it was you were talking about, it was a woman on there who, she said you needed somebody. I think y'all were talking about holding each other accountable about your savings, right, and about how much money you invest in, things like that. So who's going to hold you accountable in your relationship when you acting up, right? So to me, you got to have somebody out there that's willing to hold you accountable, also willing to give you new tools too. A lot of us, we really just become what we saw growing up. That's really what we become. So our models show us one thing. So I like to call it normalized dysfunction a lot of times. So we'll normalize what's dysfunctional because that's what our parents did. That's what their parents' did, until somebody comes in and shakes it up and says, man, that's probably not the right way to do this. So to me, that's important.
Yeah, with the normalized dysfunction, I think that we also have to be very honest. Like, as men and women, we are different and we think very differently, right? And
True.
no matter how we like to slice it, we think differently about things. And sometimes we need that counsel to help us break through, like, okay, my husband is thinking this, and that's not how I would meant to deliver it, but this is how he's receiving it. And why is that so? And I think that if you have those people that you can go to, like Shamika said, pastors, counselors, whomever, they can help you to break through those habits. Otherwise, you get into a situation where you just kind of shut down and you don't have the conversations anymore.
And different things are for different purposes. You can't go seek you can't get protein from a strawberry. You have different, everything on your plate is for a difference. There are different things you get from fruits, from vegetables, and from meat. You have to have a balanced meal in order to get what you need from it. You got to have a balanced set of people that you go to for different things. You might have a money friend. You might have a friend that knows about, there's a no judge zone between us. And you might have a friend that holds you accountable. And there are different people you have to seek for different reasons. So I do believe that knowing who to go to, about what and when, is important, and having people that are going to be upfront and hold you accountable, because you can convince yourself anything that you're doing is right, wrong, or indifferent. But if you got somebody that can call you out and go, hey, listen, this is what you're really doing and you need to deal with it and own it, it makes you see it different. If not, you're going to keep chasing your tail and spinning circles.
I think it's also up to the person that's in a relationship as well. You know how someone can be going through something and they need to go seek counsel and they just won't do it. So, I mean, I think I agree with everything that everyone said, 100%. I think also some of that onus have to go on the person that's in a relationship because they know they need counseling or they need that advice from somebody. For example, if I'm a new father and I know 10 of my friends that's got kids, 5 of them got teenage kids, I need to go to them and say, yo, what do I need to do in this situation? So it's almost as if some folks need to also drop their pride too, because don't think you're an expert in something when you know damn well you're not. So I mean, it also rides on who's in that position, because just because you're in it doesn't mean you know what to do.
Yeah.
Pride and fear, drop them both, because fear make you not do it too. Fear of, if I go tell Nita, hey, I'm going through this, I don't want Nita to say, well, I'm going to judge you. I don't want Nita to go talk to 17 other of our friends about it. So that fear will make you hold back when you know you need help. And you can't get past where you're at because you can't open up. You're at your most successful when you're at your most uncomfortable. And many of us don't realize we can't cross that hurdle until we open up. So going back to the beginning, we start turning to things like 1,500,000 followers from different people, or from Derek Jackson, or from these different people online, thinking that they're gonna give us insight when you don't know consider your source, as the older people used to say. He's giving this advice, for followers. He's giving this advice and he's not even living it. He's telling you, do as I say, not as I do. So you're going back and you're ending relationships you probably should have had a discussion in. You're cutting off people you probably should have talked to. You're dating people you probably should have never gave a chance to because you're seeking something and you're not talking to real people. Nita might tell me, Crystal, you don't need to stop talking to that man. You probably need to watch how you talk to men.
Yeah.
Well, Derek didn't say that. He told me if he would, he would. So you got to realize people who know you are the best people to talk to because sometimes it ain't them. Sometimes it's you.
Yeah. What about you, Kevin?
My thing is just seek professional help. Like Crystal was saying, you have to look at the sources. Like we learned in high school. You know, remember back when we was in high school and college, you had to bring 3-4 certified sources. If those sources didn't have there were no to those courses, you throw them away. That's why for me, when it comes to relationship stuff, I might talk to my friends and such sometimes, but I rather seek a professional therapist, a relationship coach, somebody who's certified in what they're doing, so that I know that I'm getting the proper tools to work better in my relationship, which is something that I've been doing for the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I think that we all pretty much agree that we should seek advice. We should talk to people because sad to say, some people who are in relationships, their significant other, they don't have that level of communication where they can eloquently say how they feel and, you know, that it not be a toxic situation. I've been in one of those relationships where I couldn't talk to my mate, so I only got, you know, I guess, support when I went outside of the relationship, which if you go to too many people, that can be a detriment in and of itself. So, which leads directly into the next question. So how do we determine who we should seek advice from? I think we all agree that we need to talk to some people. How do you determine exactly who you should seek that advice from, though?
I'm gonna turn to the professionals for this one. Y'all let us know. Mika, no, you
I
tell
was
us.
going to say I believe in professionals, but at the same time, I am going to give a disclaimer. I believe in relationship coach and therapist and all of that. However, being a Christ follower, I have ran into some professionals that do not line up with my morals. So when you are seeking help, you do need to make sure that the person that you're matching with actually has the same goals that you have for your relationship. So you definitely don't want to go to someone like I'm military. I used to be military, and I went to a military therapist one time. She was like, she was talking reckless, like it was so far off from my morals. And when I tried to bring her back and say, okay, well, this is my belief set. This is, what my goal is. She was trying to wipe out my goals completely. Like her advice was so opposite of the direction that I wanted to go in. So I just wanted to make that point. Like when you are looking for a professional, make sure that they want your relationship goals.
That's a big one. It's funny you say that. There was a lady I went to few years, probably 10 years ago now, and in 30 minutes of our conversation, after I told her, kind of just unloaded what had all been on me, because I felt, since as a professional, I'm in a safe place, and let me just tell you what's battling, because everybody always says get help, get help, get help. When we finished, she went through and fired back at me everything I said, and then hit me with the, do you love yourself? And I'm like, wait a minute. Clearly there's a problem. So what we're not going to do is pour alcohol and lemon juice on this open scar. I didn't go back, but it did make me feel different, because I realized this ain't a safe place, because instead of having me talk through and think through this, you straight out attack me like you the fool. Calm down, breathe. That's not what I need to hear right now. If I was on the bridge, you the reason why I jumped. It wasn't good. So you do have to consider the therapist you're talking to, because everybody ain't in a safe place.
Well, I was lucky that point, and they've been good since.
When you saw the reviews and you paid attention, it's okay.
I'll jump in. I completely agree with Shamika. Obviously, I'm I am a fan and in favor of coaches, because I am one. I also have a counselor, and I specifically sought out a Christian counselor for the reasons that Shamika was talking about. But I don't think that you have to go to a licensed person. I think you can go to somebody who you can see the fruit of their life, right? You can see, Mr. Robinson, who's been married 45 years to his wife and whose kids adore him, and, is a person in the community. You can see somebody at your job or at your church who you can see the fruit of what they're doing and say, hey, maybe can you walk with me through this? You can ask your friends that have good sense, and we all know which friends we got that got good sense.
We do.
Especially if they know you can ask them for their advice. But I think, guys, what we have to make sure that we do, regardless of who we're asking for counsel from, like even with wise counsel, we've got to learn to chew up the meat and spit out the bones with everybody.
That's true.
Because at the end of the day, we're all people, and everybody's going to give advice coming from a perspective of the life, through the lens of the life that they've lived, right? So we've just got to do better as a society of not taking everything like this person is now my source and the authority on love for me. So if he says it, I'm going to do it. If she says it, I'm going to do it. Because when we do that, we're going to set ourselves up for failure because everybody's infallible. So.
Yeah. Well, what I'd add to the conversation too is number one is intuition is everything. So usually if it doesn't feel right, the person you're talking to, then it's probably not right. I mean, so you got to learn how to trust yourself and trust your gut, depending on who you're dealing with. And even when you get a professional, every professional doesn't fit everybody, right? So, I mean, there's some, I mean, if you were going to, think about when we went to school, some teachers you rock with and some teachers you didn't. It just is what it is. So you got to find someone that you can vibe with, that you feel is authentic. I think another key is the person you are talking to, are they one-sided or are they balanced in their approach, right? Do they actually seek to understand both sides of what you're talking about, or are they seeking to just tell you what you want to hear so that you then come back over and over and over again? So in other words, do they challenge you? If they don't challenge you, then are they really for you? Because I mean, from my experience, the people that challenge me the most to think differently or to consider other things, those are people I've gotten the most out of.
Right.
So it may feel a little uncomfortable. But that's what it's supposed to do. That's what good coaching, that's what good therapy, it's supposed to make you a little bit uncomfortable, right? I think the other thing is, does the person make you feel safe? Kind of like you were talking about, Crystal. If you don't feel safe in their presence and they're not authentic enough to relate to you, then how are you going to really open up to it? You can't be vulnerable with people that you don't feel actually have your best interest at heart. So, and vulnerability changes everything. So those are my kind of suggestions on if you're seeking somebody out, think about those things for sure. And remember, I like what you said, Nita. We're all human people and we all have a perspective. So we all fall short sometimes. So there will never be perfection. You got to go to figure out, what are the fruits of their labor? What are the things that they can show you that they've done? I think that's important, extremely important.
Can I piggyback off of a point that Troy made, and this probably moving us into a different part of the conversation, but he made a point that the wise counsel is going to challenge you.
That's it.
I think that's where everybody who was a devout follower of Derek Jackson missed the boat, right?
That's it.
Over 1 million people.
You
mentioned that was big.
And
my bad, 1 million women. My bad.
We'll take that one. But I think that's what always used to get me about the videos. And so I'd seen his stuff. And did he say some true stuff? Absolutely. But when all of your content is always geared towards one population, it's geared towards correcting one group of people, it's geared towards the mistakes of another group of people, it's already wrong.
It is. Troy made, even when he said that part, he said, which really hit home. He said, they always say what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
People who genuinely have your best interests at heart are not always going to say what you want to hear. You're not always going to hear that they're wrong. Like you said, they're going to challenge you. And we said that when we were talking kind of backstage for a moment, where we liked him. Women liked him because if you were in a situation where you were hurt, broken, ignored, damaged, or something was going on, his advice was always geared to, it's a man's perspective. So you already feel different because now you like all men agree because this man is telling the truth. But this man is bashing other men. He's bashing Kevin Hart. He's bashing Pastor John Gray. He's bashing all these other people. And then he's bashing the man that you mad at, you heard from, and he's bashing them where you ain't got to own it. But you are dealing with, well, maybe it is me. Maybe I should leave this person alone. When in all actuality, every video shouldn't be what you want to hear. Every video shouldn't be bashing these situations. It didn't make us grow. It made us feel like we don't want to be with nobody unless he comes through and he's absolutely stunningly perfect. Well, can you expect that you not? Because we don't come with everything like we're supposed to. Sometimes we bring that situation out of people, truth be told. So it was different when you said that about challenging, and it was definitely different when you said about always getting what you want to hear, because that's just appeasing to the masses for followers.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And the form of manipulation.
Definitely.
It is.
Oh,
And
yes,
you can
definitely.
see by that bonnet that he was a manipulator.
And don't forget that y'all really, one of the real reasons y'all liked him because he's an over 6 foot man. He has a lot of muscles. He's dark. From what I gathered, because he looked like he was a handsome guy. I don't know any other handsome guy except myself. But
Somebody care about Derek Jackson. That motherfucker only had 11 yards in his career, right?
He said 11 yards.
No, on 2 catches though. He had 2 catches. So hey,
You know
that's
the haters
something,
feel when y'all pull the boy football stats.
Did y'all
Right.
go to
11 yards. I had more yards than that, and I played defense in high school.
Oh Lord. Well,
All right,
most
so you
people on the internet, man, they not listen. What I found is most people on the internet not looking for they're looking for confirmation more than anything.
Yeah.
right?
And it's easy to market to that. But if you're trying to really impact change, that's not what you're gonna do. Right? If you're trying to impact change in people in a community, you're not gonna just give everybody confirmation. And that's why it's easy to love people that confirm what you want to believe to be true.
yeah.
But
And
if
everything's in
everything is
segments with no context.
go ahead,
everything-
Shamika, I'm sorry.
When everything is in segments with no context, that's the same thing like when we follow online pastors or online relationship gurus. Like the best ones are the ones who talk for an hour and explain their points, explain the process. The ones that give you a 10-minute or a 5-minute video where everything's in segments, there's no context there. There's so many layers to relationships. Like there's no way that you can listen to someone for 5 minutes and that just explains your whole relationship dynamic and what went wrong and what went right and what to do next. Like imagine getting on the phone and explaining a situation and someone gives you 5 minutes of their time to give you a solution.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. And you got to think about the whole story, because if I get online and somebody posts a video and this is my inside joke all the time, if this person liked you, they would call you, or this thing, which is true, which is very true. But the reason you didn't call me that they don't know on that 5-minute video is because I got a tendency to slap a nigga too. Well, then that's why. That's not because if they wanted you, they would. You're toxic. You're abusive. You're crazy. Some of that's not them. It's you. My cousin said that one time to me. She said, sometimes we got to check ourselves because sometimes we the F boy. And I had to think about that. I said, you know what?
Not me.
You know what? Sometimes you are the F boy. Sometimes you're the problem. It's like when you're sitting at home and you get automatically mad and nobody did nothing. The phone didn't ring. They didn't call in your time frame. You're livid. Well, you, my little needy friend who was held too much as a kid, you got to figure out what's going on with you, because people are allowed to not call you every 10 seconds. But sometimes it's you, not them. And then you get online and you go through Instagram, who has 1,010 reels based off what you like, and everybody says it's them, it's them, it's them. So now your attitude is magnified because these 100K followers are now telling you that everybody else's problem is not you. It's confirmation, and sometimes you really need a self-check, and that's huge.
Right. And this was all great commentary, guys. And I think that as far as seeking advice, I think we all know our friends, right? We know who we can go to for what. I'm the friend where my friends know if they call me and they tell me some personal stuff, they know it's not going to leave it's not going to go anywhere else. I'm not going to tell anybody else. I'm not going to bring it back up later. And I'll give advice if they ask me for it. But otherwise, I'm simply listening to what they say. I don't give it unless they ask for it, because sometimes people just need to vent. And sometimes they got to figure it out themselves. Like, they already know what they need to do, but sometimes they need to just hear themselves talk about it. Like for me, I don't have a best friend. I have friends, some solid friends, so I'm extremely close to. But my best friend is who's ever best for that situation at the time. If I need to have a serious conversation, I know who I need to call. If I'm having a bad day and I need a joke, I know who I need to call. So for me, it depends on who is best for that particular situation. And I do want to ask you guys the next question. Do you think people should seek advice from those who share the same marital status?
So I'll jump in on that one. I think there's value in different perspectives, but I do believe that conversations change in different seasons of your life, right? So if you are single, and I'm not saying single people can't have really good advice, but if you are a married person, your dynamic is totally different than when you were single. The person I was when I was single is totally different. The situations I went through were totally different than the ones I did now that I'm married, right? And so if I'm going to seek something out, I'm probably going to seek someone in a similar situation before I go to my person that's dating or single. Not to say that they can't give me wise counsel, but what I am saying is I want someone that can actually relate to the conversation. It's just different. It's like parenting. Talking to someone about kids is totally different when they don't have kids and when they do. It's a whole different conversation. So I know this can be a touchy subject, because people will be like, well, that doesn't mean I can't give advice because I'm not married.
No, but it makes sense.
But you got to think about it. Like, the situations are so different. I mean, what if I'm going through what if I went through a marriage and I go through a miscarriage, right? Or say I'm married and we're going through financial issues together. That's a different conversation than if I'm single and I'm out here and I just spend my own money all day. I don't have to worry about nobody else. So
there's logic and there's experience. Logic and experience are different. Anybody can give you logic, because if I have kids and I'm yelling and two of my friends are on the phone, one of them who doesn't have kids is going to tell you, don't yell at them babies. She got logic. Don't yell at them. You shouldn't talk to them. That's an inner problem with your inner child. And then that friend that's got kids is like, nah, sometimes you got to dig deep and say what you got to say, because they don't hear you. It don't mean that you're a bad parent. It just means there's a certain time for a certain action in a certain way. But it's people who've been in your shoes that kind of get it. Because then those who didn't have kids and they go, I see why you felt that way a little bit. So it's a two-way thing.
Oh, let me say this real quick and I'll let somebody else go. Crystal, when my mind changed about this stuff was the airplane situation with kids. So when I was single, or when I had no kids and a kid would get on the plane, or hollering and crying and all that kind of stuff, I was judgmental. I was so judgmental. Like, then you shut the kid up, blah, blah, blah. Then I got a kid and I went on a plane ride and I said, I'm so sorry. I just had to apologize to everybody I ever cussed out in my head. So
it happens. Everybody thought I was crazy. I was one of the first ones to have my daughter. And I was like, wash your hands, real soap, no sanitizer. I was 21. It was 2006. And they was like, she's so protective. Then a couple of years later, they had babies and they were like, I get it. You don't want them to go anywhere till they can talk. Well, see, I was crazy when I told you put your little nasty hands down and you couldn't touch my kid. Now your baby got a cold and you like, don't kiss my baby. It goes like that. You don't know until you know. I can tell Mika or Nita, leave him. Go and get away from him. You don't like the way he talks to you, go and get away from him. And then when we all get married, I'm like, so listen, you can't just go and get away from him. That's a $10,000 breakup. Chill. Talk through this, work through this, make sure you're sure, because it's different. Your mindset is different when you've been there. When I was working on the phones as a CSR, I thought all the bosses were stupid. Then I get behind the boss's table and I'm like, you know what? Y'all weren't stupid. I just didn't know what you were going through. You got to put your feet in somebody's shoes to understand what it feels to walk that mile.
Yeah. I was going to say and what you're looking for. Like for me, unlike Hook, I'm not the friend that's just gonna listen. You finna get something. I'm finna challenge you spiritually. I'm about to push something out of you. I'm about to change your perspective. And there's nothing I can do about that. God drops what he drops and I have to be obedient. But I have been married and divorced actually twice. My first husband was abusive. My second one cheated. So I do have a different set of information that some of my other single friends don't have. However, I do not talk to habitually single people about married issues. That doesn't make sense. If you have no clue on how to stay committed, connected, and have a covenant, then you can't instruct me on my covenant. So that's just ill-advised in general. But in the spiritual perspective, if you have a friend that gets a word from the Lord, and it doesn't really matter what your status is, because there's going to be words of wisdom that are going to fall. So it really just depends on what kind of information you want. I can be logical all day. I'm a number kind of girl, so I can look at a situation and tell you where to go. But I just feel like it does make more sense if the person has some type of lens into your situation. The kid thing is a great example. I can't stand when people tell parents how they should talk to their kids. As long as you're not abusive in your language, I just feel like you have no clue, because you talk to kids multiple times and they don't listen. And then when you get your mom voice, everyone want to look at you like you're crazy. And you don't understand the mom voice till you become a mom and you realize that mom voice is absolutely necessary. And I feel like that's the same thing when you're married. When you're a wife, there is a wife voice. There is a way that you can carry yourself.
I'm working on that.
And if you haven't been a wife, if you haven't had that covenant, if you haven't had to sit down and cry in a corner and try to figure your stuff out, then there's no way you can talk to someone from that perspective. There's no way that anyone can give you any type of information on how to shake through that. And there's just no logical way. I don't care if you've been shacking up for 15 years. If you didn't enter into a covenant, then we can't have the same conversation. And so that's just my point on that.
No, I agree. You're 100% correct. Your life experiences give you life wisdom. And until you've been there, some things, you're not going to get it. I cannot tell my grandma how to be a senior citizen. I've never been there. When I get there, I'm going to understand it a little bit different. That's a real life situation. I can tell her what I read in the book and what they talked about in college. But in real life, I won't know how to be old until I'm old. And that's a toughie. Go ahead, Nita.
I want to say I agree. However, I think we've got to be leery about just pushing away a single voice all the way, right? Because we can get wisdom from anywhere. I think that, like I told you guys, I'm newly into this marriage thing. So I just came from the single side, and I'm one of the last one of my friends to get married. And I tend to be one of the people that is confided in my group of friends. And I would like to think that the advice that I've given them over the course of the years has been sound or good or, mediocre. But I think that even if it was from the perspective of like, I'm ready to go, like that's what they're saying. And I'm like, girl, the single life it ain't what it's sitting for. Like, I don't know if this is what you want. You know what I'm saying? And that was still a perspective that they didn't have, because they've been married 10 years. So like, I'm able to say, I've been single for 10 years and it's not fun. You know what I'm saying? And there's a whole dynamic of your life that's going to change. Are you prepared for that? But I will say, being 60 days into this thing, I do already see how my mind has shifted from when I gave a single advice from married advice. So I completely agree that it's a different thing. Even being at the beginning of a marriage, it's like, whew, this is different, right? This is different.
But Nita, even being friends, you've been friends with all of us. I mean, I'm here to say Nita's been our friend. Good God, Nita's been my friend since we was in high school, riding home for lunch breaks. But we would go to her. And when you're at, weddings, or if we're at back, we're waiting at receptions or whatever, and we're just sitting there sidebarring, your single friends, even though they may not know how it is to be married, Nita would always give us advice on us. My married friends are going to talk to me about my relationship. This is what your relationship is like. This is what your marriage is like. But my single friends are going to be like, hey, you, who's been you since before you was you, remember you. And sometimes, like you said, different people bring different things. You still gave us advice, but it was a different type of advice that we needed. So it can come from everywhere. but it does be a difference, because when the ones who got me about my marriage, they got me all the way together about that marriage. But sometimes I need to be reminded about who I was, and that's where different people came in. It's again, you got meat, vegetables, and fruits. You better have your balance, because you're gonna need it all to be okay.
Definitely. Kevin, Alvin,
well, I mean, y'all pretty much took the words out of my mouth. When it comes to taking advice, I like to look at different perspective. I have single friends, I have married friends, I have divorced friends. I listen to all the advice. I take the good and the bad. It's just like going to a buffet. You take what's good for you, you leave what's bad for you. Now, when it comes to people getting advice from me, I am the blunt friend. I'll give you just straight, simple advice, as straight as possible so that you can get it. If I need to just listen, then I have no problem listening. I've had situations where friends have vented to me over an hour about what their mate's doing, and I'm like, all right, cool, you done? Okay, talk to you later. And then it's some friends when they're like, man, I don't know what to do, and I just shoot them straight shot. There's no chaser, because I don't want to see any of my friends hurt. I don't want to see my friends in any kind of bad predicament. So I try to give the most blunt advice I can. Whether they take it or not, that's neither here or there. But that's just the friend I am. I'm gonna take the gun and shoot it straight to your head.
right. Alvin?
Rough way, what?
Honestly, I guess the advice you take somebody, they don't necessarily have to be the same status, but like Chris said, like everybody else said, they've got to understand where you're coming from. Like, for example, I can't take advice from a guy who says this is what you need to do, for your lady. This is how you need to treat your lady. Then when he leaves, he go punch his wife right in the face or something like that. You can't take advice from somebody like that. So it's almost as if, just how I think D said it earlier, you kind of got to vet who you're talking to. So I mean, me personally, one of the main people I take my advice from is my parents. My parents are going on by damn near 40 years of marriage, plus they're always a call away. And the best force to take your advice from is somebody that's, well, some of the best. I say that some of the best is somebody that's been in that situation, understand it, got the experience. But at the same time, we've got 3 coaches right here in this conversation who are more than qualified, who know how to talk to you. They're not going to be biased. You can't go to somebody and talk to somebody who's been in somewhat of a bad relationship, and they're going to look at it one-sided. Instead, it's cool to talk to somebody who's been in that relationship, and they're going to give you the whole 360 of it. Not sure if y'all ever seen an episode of the Boondocks where Granddad met that chick on the internet, and she was talking to her friend, and her friend was telling her, "You got to go kill this dude now." You don't want your advice from somebody like that. So I mean,
you can't get fixed advice from somebody that's bitter. Somebody who is in a man-hating realm is not going to tell you, "Girl, work it out." She going to tell you to run.
Right.
Yeah. You can't get advice from.
That opens a whole
be loyal from a dude that's got a Rolodex of gals by his bedside.
Right.
It's funny how the advice changes depending on the season, right? The single season and the married season, it just shifts because the perspective. I've seen so many women where like they have that homegirl who, when she mad at her dude, she want her friend to be mad too, so she give bad advice, and then when she all in love, then everything is like sunshine and roses, to her friends. Yeah. You got to be careful with that, man. It'll hurt you depending on what the season they in.
Yeah,
but what's that Steve Harvey book that act like a man, that think like a man, act like a, whatever he said. I didn't read it, but the ones who did always said it's like old women. It's your mama's advice. Grandmama's always been saying that. Watch that single friend that tell you to leave yours and go home and lay up with hers. Watch those people who tell you to do this and then they go and do that. Watch that man that tells you how to be amazingly wonderful and goes behind the scenes and is a dog behind it. Yes, you can catch good advice anywhere, because if someone says don't slap them, then don't, because you're going to get in trouble, even if they out there slapping people. But don't go out there following, like Nita said, don't hang on to every word like they're your new idol and they're your source of information, and they can't even get their own life right, because at some place there's a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I'm one of these people. I don't think it's ever fair to summarily dismiss anybody's opinion, because I think Bonita said it earlier that you can learn from anybody. However, comma pause. If I have a friend who I know is a serial dater, like I'm not going to go to that particular person on how or why I need to stay in my engagement or my marriage or what have you. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely have to be discretionary when it comes to that.
So you think Lori can tell you to stay with your boo?
Who?
Lori Harper. She can't tell you to stay with your boo?
Nah, I ain't listening to Lori. Lori can't tell me nothing about staying with nobody.
Now, Lori teach you how to get somebody.
Right. and that's a perfect segue into the next question, actually. So do you expect those that give advice to live by their own words?
Well, I would hope so. If you're gonna cook the food, I hope you eat it. Oh, I don't want it.
My thing with that is, I mean, just like we were talking about with single people having advice, married people, it's not necessarily like I expect. How can I say this? I expect you to live what you talk to an extent.
Right.
I think what was happening with Action Paxton Jackson was he was condemning people for the same thing that he was doing.
Yes.
I agree. That's where the problem came in.
Like, for example, I might can give great advice to people, and communicate that well, but I may not be a great communicator at home. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm not going to condemn you for being a not a good communicator. I'm going to say, hey, let's figure out a way to communicate better. We probably can feed off each other, go back home and work better. I'm not going to say, well, you're just a shitty communicator, man. I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. And I get home, my girl be like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like this. So it's not necessarily everybody can't live exactly what they say. I mean, we all have the good things to say, and we need to set the expectations on how hard it is to follow it. That's the reason I don't really like the relationship memes and a lot of the online advice this guy was giving, is because a lot of the stuff is not as cut and dry as they make it out to be, and that's where it becomes a slippery slope.
Well, it's the difference between striving for better and being complacent and doing nothing. So if all of us are looking to budget and save, it don't mean all of y'all are perfect budgeters. It means we're all striving for a similar goal. We're trying to get there. Not everybody has the perfect body that teaches you how to work out. Not everybody who teaches you how to save has the perfect budget. But if I'm out here teaching you how to get your body right, but I'm out there getting surgeries and I'm cutting mine up and I'm making you kill yourself to look like me, that's bullshit. I don't care how you sugarcoat it. If I'm out here telling you how to get women because I'm saying you can get a woman by doing blah, 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 but I'm cash apping all the ones I got, I'm full of crap. That's sugarcoating. If I'm telling you to do better about your money and all these budgeting things, but I'm out here throwing money fast, then I'm not living what I'm saying. It's the difference between thriving to do and trying to do better and just blatantly bullshitting people. Yeah. If you were out here giving people advice about the type of woman a man should want and he should value and he should love you and he should blah, 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 but you got a woman in the basement with a bonnet, and then you got 3 video fixings that you laying up with on a Tuesday, then you're full of crap because you are doing just the same thing you told us not to date these men for doing. And then you had to tell me how would I look when our names have Jackson on the end? Come on.
Because at the end of the day, your mate is going to be a representative of you. So when the mate came out, I was like, well, there's your proof.
You can't take tummy tea after liposuction. That ain't the same thing.
I agree 100%. I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Kevin. I believe that you should not put your mouth on anything you're not willing to follow. I cannot stand that idea that do as I say and not as I do. I feel like that's part of the accountability. If I say, okay, well, you need to work through, communicate, whatever I give advice, that is something that I actually believe in and I will live by. That's accountability. Yes, we all make mistakes. We all talk out the side of our neck sometimes, but you need to be intentional when you're around people. Like some of our businesses and our lifestyles, we have influence over people. My influence over people is great. That means whatever I say out of my mouth, my friends, the people that follow me, the people that just be watching and lurking, they are paying attention. So if I do the opposite of what I'm saying, then I have to be held accountable to that. That is appropriate. It's absolutely appropriate for you to be authentic and be honest and have integrity. And if you are willing to lie to everyone and put on a mask. As soon as that mask gets ripped off, then you have to eat the consequences that you set up.
It is. And again, it's being authentic. I can take you with me on my weight loss journey, but I cannot go get surgery and lie to you about my weight loss journey. That is not right. That is deception. I'm giving you an image you're never going to obtain. It's many of us who grew up as little girls wanting to look like some of these people, and we didn't even know these fools had airbrushed back then. But I could have done it too then if I'd have known that. It's deceptive. You can't deceive people. And there's where the difference comes in. Many people stop following. The reason we did this today, because he was deceptive. You are not who you said you were. If you out here saying, listen, I'm trifling, as I'm telling y'all right now what trifling men do, then we wouldn't have been surprised. But you didn't come out and say that. You came out and said you were Mr. Perfect. And then you were doing perfect things, but you were living a very unperfect way. So it's that type of situation. Be real and be who you are. If you want to teach me as you grow, cool, but say that. Don't fool me to give me something I'm never gonna obtain, because I can't reach that I say it all the time. I hate when they go get surgery and they tell me they got a weight loss body. I can't do what you did, baby.
But when it comes to Derrick Jackson, are we really shocked that this happened? Because every time he gave his advice, it was one-sided. We hardly ever seen it from two perspectives. So I mean, can we say we really shocked how this guy was basically not getting high on his own supply, really?
No, because he said it when he was in the car, so he never said it in the house where we could see her come out that basement and really call him out.
That's the thing. Like most people who give, like the thing I will at least say about some of the other guys, like your Jamal Bryant's, your what's the other guy name?
Kevin Samuels.
Not Kevin Samuels. I'm talking about the one that showed the women. What's the guy's name? John Gray and them. You at least seen their wife, so it seemed what legit. I knew it was a red flag to me when you go on this guy's page and never seen a picture of his wife, but not once. And then apparently the time he showed a picture of his wife is because he at that point cut off all his side chicks except for one.
He didn't cut them off. He just
He didn't cut them off.
Don't pay attention.
Yeah, he did. He cut him off. He blocked him. That's what he said.
He
blocked him. He didn't cut him off.
He didn't look at the picture. He didn't cut him off.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like, my thing is like we were saying earlier, like you have to walk what you talk. So how are we taking advice from somebody who doesn't? We don't even see anything that he does.
Well, I didn't take no advice from him, so I don't know.
It's like you can't sell perfection for profit, right? I mean, I think that's the issue that people has. He sold perfection, so he made himself an easy target.
Yeah.
For a downfall, because if you sell perfection, now you have to live up to perfection. People respect the journey. I think people are graceful, and people extend grace naturally. I think to people because they understand that humans are human, but you can't sell perfection, and I think that's hard for anybody to believe. Like, people bought into it. Don't get me wrong, they bought into it, but I just feel like you got to show people the journey so that they can feel like they can relate. Like if you can't show people the journey, they can't grasp it. They don't feel like it's doable. Like if I was a guy listening just to Derrick Jackson, right? I would think I could never be that guy, right? That he was talking about. Because I'm like, that guy is like, I don't know, he top tier. Like he's perfect in every way. And I'm like, I know I don't live that life. So I think
meanwhile, back at the ranch, he's sliding in DMs like the rest of people.
with the eyes.
Nita, what you got?
Us dark skin dudes taking an L.
No, I think everybody's already said it. Pretty spot on. I think Crystal's example of the fitness person who go and buy the body and try to get you to buy their waist trainers and do their workout program.
Right.
Got me out here doing 100 squats and you had your tummy tucked in. I could have paid $5,000.
That's spot on, man. And I think that people don't realize, the Derrick Jacksons of the world don't realize when your reach is that large, and especially when you're selling a dream like that, a dream that so many women really, really, really wanted to believe in. So many Black women specifically, I got to call us out. We really wanted for it to be true.
Mr. Perfect.
There's a consequence that comes at your failure, at you trying to sell that perfection. Now you've re-triggered all these women who have these ideas that love got to hurt, or that, you know, good Black men don't exist, or that marriage is a fallacy. Like, you create all these problems in the Black love community. And I think that's why I just want us to be more discerning about who we allow to influence us every single day.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
power in discernment, and I don't think that we acknowledge that enough. But if this didn't teach us anything, it taught us this. You can't follow everything you see on the internet. At some point, you have to sit back and really deal with the real life. One thing I love about our generation, I think all of us are around the same age range, except Hook way older than me. We grew up in a generation. We grew up in a generation where you saw it on TV, but you know, you knew they told you when you grow it up, that's TV, that's not real life. And you saw real life every day. So now you're in a generation where all they see is the internet. But even we done got hooked into this internet stuff where we believe in what we see in left and right as well. We see these memes. We see these me and somebody's sons. We see these people, and we're like, I want that. Do you know what that really entails?
Yeah.
That somebody's son might be somebody else's husband. That might be somebody else's problem. You don't know what that is.
We gotta stop.
We're busy saying, I want that. And we don't realize we're taking on their problems, their struggles, and their drama with it. Yeah. And we don't even know what they got going on behind closed doors.
We got to stop thinking that because it's popular, it's right.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah,
we got to stop. People to think like that anyway. Like, we've seen too many examples of that blowing up. I don't understand why people just continue to just keep going with that same logic when it keep being, it's always proved wrong.
They've been that way. Think about how many people loved Elvis and Priscilla. Think about how many people loved Ike and Tina. Think about how many people loved all this stuff you saw on these record labels. And then later on, you're realizing that they had something going on you didn't know. How many people we saw behind the scenes and all these shows that really had drug problems? How many people did we idolize? Oh, I want to be like Michael Jackson, but you ain't want a daddy like Joe. There's so many different things that we didn't know, but we idolized because they gave us what they wanted us to see. You see that good picture, but you don't see what we look like when we go to bed. You don't see what we look like when we wake up. You see this, but you don't see that. You don't see my struggle, but you see my celebration. And we idolize the win, but we do not idolize the practice or the losses that came before it because we don't want to see that side of it.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I used to follow Mobb Deep and I used to beat up people in middle school because I was a big Mobb Deep fan. And they're gonna find out that the guy I'm following was actually getting beat up by everybody.
Go ahead, Alvin.
Yeah, I think what it is, and I understand exactly where Chris coming from, because my daddy was one of those who would say, just because you see somebody who living a sugary life don't mean ain't shit behind it. You know what I mean? Right. So I mean, I think one thing that a lot of relationships fail, nowadays, this generation, you don't see people getting to know each other anymore. They follow people like Derek Jackson, who said, this is the type of dude you want. You rush into a relationship, and guess what? 3 months later, that relationship is over. So, I mean, you almost don't do the homework on who you want to be with. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go get a background check on that person, but you need to get to know who you about to date. Because this person could be who you want to, the person that you want to spend your life with. You need to get to know who they are when you dating them. Because if it's shitty when you dating them, it ain't gonna be sugar when you marry them.
That's true. Marriage don't change it. But I don't think that they talk about stuff. My pastor talked about this before. Journeys. You go to church and you're like, oh my God, they've been married for 75 years. I want that. But did you know that was wife number 2? Did you know that was who he was messing with? Did you know that this was going on? Did you know that she forgave a lot of infidelities? Did you know he forgave a lot of infidelities? Did you know some of them kids he raised wasn't his? They don't tell you that. Everybody tells you that your destination is Decker, but they don't tell you that you could take 2-notch Park Lane or this interstate, but this road got a pothole, this road got a this. Tell people the journeys, because it's not an easy way to get there. You're going to have those issues. That's why marriages have the issues we got. We all want our grandparents' marriages, but did you know your grandma couldn't leave your trifling granddaddy, or your trifling grandmama couldn't get left because people could not survive on their own? There was a dependency there. There was something that was there, and we don't look at that. We just look at, you're not like my granddaddy. I can't be with you. We can't get 38 years, but there's a reason why that happened. I wish the older generations would take time now while we still got a lot of them left, and tell us your journey. Don't give me that sugarcoat thing that gives you that table of 38 years in the front of the church. Tell me how you got there. How did you forgive that situation? How did you get past that money hurdle? How did you do through that miscarriage or all these different babies? Because these are the battles that we're facing, and we ain't surviving them.
Yeah, and I think what we more so have to realize, the fact is that people fuck up. You know, I mean, we're all human, so no one's perfect. And to Troy's point, the reason that a lot of people celebrated Derrick Jackson's quote unquote downfall is because he was portraying this image, saying, you know, all the stuff he was saying to avoid, that's the stuff that's the life he was living. And we as men, I know for me, I saw through it, you know, and it's, you know, every woman I interacted with beforehand, they're like, you know, the fact is that, you know, he's calling you men out and whatever the case is. But the fact is like he led a lot of women to believe that he was this supreme person, like he was just simply perfect. And
like he Russell Wilson.
Right, like he's Russell Wilson, right? But he was actually
Russ.
he was actually future, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
Don't touch Russ.
Don't touch Russ.
I ain't
got on nobody.
Hey, Russ, we coming for you, bro.
I'm glad we ain't talk about Kevin Samuels, because he the other side of the same dysfunctional coin.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, but at the end of the day, it's a money grab.
Yeah, well, that's sure.
Easy money grab.
Yeah.
One thing I'll give Derrick Jackson on, because I didn't realize he was so young. He's like 31.
Mm-hmm.
For him to have been doing this for like 9 years, he found the niche pretty young. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a money grab.
Yeah.
Particularly they're utilizing social media for it.
Yeah. And guys, we have go ahead, Shamika.
I was gonna say to Crystal, like, the reason because I tell older people all the time that they need to tell us their story, but that's another spiritual piece, because they come from a generation where it's not appropriate to share those things because there's no glamour in the ugly. And so that's why you get all of these pretty Christmas pictures and everyone has the pretty pajamas and everyone's like black love and they're not happy. It's because that is what people want to see. They want the fantasy, and it is. Nobody wants the ugly stuff. Nobody wants the ugly pictures. Nobody wants the bonnet. Okay, she shouldn't have wore that, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, my girl,
that girl had on a hat.
It was a hat.
Because of how she wore it. What I'm gonna say is, her in real life, her bonnet, her hat represented her shame. Look at what she's going through. Like the turmoil that she's going through, and she's going through it publicly. Like, these are things that happen inside of the church on a regular basis, and the pastor puts a Band-Aid on it. The spiritual moms put a Band-Aid on it. They tell you to
give and forget,
and it'll be fine. And then we get Derrick Jackson's wife with a baggy shirt on and her hair looking crazy and talking
and all
crazy.
the pimples.
We get you see her fruit because her husband left her uncovered. So, but
women were triggered by that, because we know it's just like y'all could see through his bull crap.
Triggered.
Many of us were triggered by seeing her, because we know when you've been so beat down that you don't even care no more. You just be like, forget it. You just come out there and look like whatever. Tell these people what you got to tell them. I'm done with it. We know what self-hate looks like.
Yep.
And you know what? Someone put it was a hat. Yeah, it was a helmet of praise.
Fake news.
It was a helmet of praise.
It was a beret.
But
fake news.
A helmet of salvation.
That's too funny. I done forgot my point.
I know, right?
Oh, no.
Go ahead, Anita.
Shamika was saying that he left her uncovered. You know, it's so crazy because he left her uncovered during the infidelity, right? But then it's almost worse the way he left her uncovered by bringing her online.
And how he looked sharp.
He almost he almost made his infidelity like the second.
He made it okay.
Right.
Look at her.
You better believe that was
why I
purposely
do what I did. That's that crap he did.
He don't care about her. If he cared about her, listen, I don't know no man that want their woman to look that crazy in nobody's public. Okay, not even on a Walmart run. And so for him to not reach over and say, baby, we about to do this live, you ain't gonna get dressed
You get
for real. But
never mind, I do it myself.
Right. And again, guys, this was a great conversation. I really appreciate everybody's commentary. So before we go, because we got a few minutes, I want each of you guys to give just a quick take on the entire topic, like some takeaways you want the people to have, or just how you feel about the topic altogether. And Shamika, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Well, my advice is that don't do anything or go anywhere without Christ. If you are a Christ follower, a Christ believer, it is awesome to get advice from other people. But if you do not do that with the connection to your source, then everything else is mute. So make sure you are connected to your source.
Cool.
Everyone, quit looking at relationships as if they're like a get rich quick scheme. Get out there, put in the work, and make it happen. I mean, if you don't, you're gonna find yourself in a Derek Jackson situation where he was up here wearing that express sweater, not structured, where he basically got caught slipping and he was fucking up. So at the same time, put in the work like you're supposed to, do what you have to do, and if you do need advice, don't be afraid to take it.
I would say, going a step further, just going out to seek advice and putting yourself in the middle of wise counsel, and not being scared or intimidated to unlearn the bad stuff that you've picked up over the course of your life, and just understanding that relationships it's a muscle, right? And you got to work it out, and you have to be willing to do the work with your partner all the time. But y'all stop following all these people on the internet. They ain't good for you.
Amen.
Oh man, so what I would say is, trust your intuition. If it don't feel right, it's probably not right. And when you're seeking counsel, seek people who genuinely care about you, who ask you good questions, who challenge you, who aren't one-sided, and who have some proven results. And I think that's that. Don't expect perfection from anyone, but at least do your homework. So that's what I would say.
Every day in life is a lesson, and every lesson is a blessing. Take your experiences and learn from them, and take others' experiences and learn from them. But always be open to understand that, again, as they said earlier, spit the meat and chew the meat, but spit the bones. Know what to take in and receive, and know what not to. Discernment is real, and we all have the ability to know what's right and what's wrong. Check yourself before you want to point the finger and blame the others. And if you fix you, you'll attract what you feel inside. So get you together. I had to learn it. Get you together, and you'll attract what you need from relationships and advice.
Definitely. And again, this was great commentary, guys. Thank you for joining. Audience, thank you for your commentary as well as listening and viewing. So Chris, next week is Money Making Monday, right?
It is. And this Money Making Monday, we're toggling. I think we might do investments, because everybody's been asking. And one thing I hate to hear a lot of in the Black community is, I want to invest, but I don't know how. So we want to get into teaching how. So this Money Making Monday, we will hit investments. And then next Money Making Monday, which will be May, is Mortgage May. We're going to talk about mortgages. We're going to teach you about the different types of mortgages, mortgage investing, what to do, what not to do. It's a seller's market right now. So we're going to do investments in April, and we're going to talk about mortgages in May. So definitely be with us for our Money Making Mondays. The next two are going to be amazing.
Definitely. And remember, guys, the first Monday of every month, we talk about things geared towards money. That's something we've been doing for the entire year, because we do, especially for the Black community, we do know that money is something that's taboo to talk about for whatever reason. But I think it's way past time that we have this conversation. So again, for the guests, I really appreciate you guys. Shamika, Peter, Troy, in the group chat that we have, make sure you guys drop the links for your books, because we want to support you guys. We want to take part in that as well. So make sure you do that. Alvin, you a Sigma, but you're all right with me. So it is what it is. And Mr. Derek Jackson Jr. over here, I appreciate you. Chris,
I'll go live from my car once I leave.
right. Hey, Chris, I appreciate you for
Always,
bringing the
always.
energy every week. That's my dog. That's my partner. I really appreciate everything you do. For the audience, thank you for watching. Make sure you guys follow us on YouTube, across all podcast platforms, and make sure you continue to share and like the material. We appreciate you guys. This has been a phenomenal conversation. And again,
Wow.
thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you again next week. Holla.
And Derek Jackson had an iPhone.